All right, the rise of RFID. So RFID stands for Radio Frequency Identification. I'm the Director of Marketing at Terso Solutions. Terso is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Promega. We are an RFID solution provider for laboratory, life science, and healthcare. One of the things about radio frequency identification, there's the slide. Formed in 2005 by Promega. We have over 800 units installed worldwide. So all these units are out in the field tracking data for our customers. All the data is sent back to us. We can monitor these things 24/7, take action on things that are miles and miles away from us. So it's a pretty powerful technology. What is RFID? So there's basically three components. There's an RFID reader, there's a tag that goes on a product, and those two things talk to each other. And some kind of action occurs, there's some data there, but you don't really know what it means until it gets to the processing stage. On the back end, the third piece is the processor that actually makes sense of the data that's passed back and forth, and that could be anything from expiration date of products to product temperature to what the product actually is. There's a whole wide range of things. This is an example of how we pass data back through the internet to our servers to process it, make sense of it, and provide it back to our customers. Let's step into the history of RFID. Been around since the late 1800s. One of the first uses was in World War II when the British put transponders in Allied aircraft. When the radar hit those aircraft, it responded with a signal. They were able to identify friend or enemy through that technology. Since that time, there's a 30 to 40 year chunk that was nothing but research into the technology. What do the tags look like on an RFID tag? Like those are from the 50s and 60s. What are the actual applications of this technology? A lot of that research went on until the 70s. In the 70s, patents started being awarded for things. One of the national laboratories came up with a way to track nuclear materials that came in and out of facilities. You started to see it adopted in agriculture with tracking livestock. In the 80s, you started getting into electronic toll collection, which I'm sure we've all seen and are familiar with. The 90s moved us into things like mobile speed pass, where you can pay for your gas with RFID. But the big thing is it didn't all start coming together until 2003. And there was a big thing that happened there. Walmart said to all of their suppliers, you will tag every pallet that comes to our facility. You will tag every case that comes to our facility. Nobody had done this before. There was a lot of risk. Ended up saving millions of dollars through implementing this system. But that wasn't all. Then they said, this works so well, what if we could tag every single item that comes into our store? And that was huge, because yes, you can. You can put a tag on every pair of underwear, every pair of pants, every can of soup that comes into your store. Track that at the item level, you know where it is at all times. And that's big. That gives them visibility and the ability to cut costs very effectively. I consider this right now the perfect storm for RFID. There's a couple things happening. One is RFID tags are very inexpensive. You can get an RFID tag now for 7 cents a piece, which is very low price. The cloud makes processing all the data you're producing very easy because you can outsource it. And there's proven that these things work. People use RFID every day in a variety of applications. It works. Excuse me. There are security and privacy concerns with RFID, obviously, with that data. But I will tell you there's a lot of research going on right now. It's a balance between implementing good security and making sure you don't cripple the technology so it can't move forward. There's a lot of research going on right now with cloaking tags and authorization between reader and tag. Benefits are, this is particular to retail, but you think about not having to have line of sight. An RFID tag could be on a product in the middle of a pallet, you know it's there. You can process probably close to 100 items in a second with RFID. With a barcode, you'd get one in a second. So a very powerful technology supplies unbelievable visibility into your products where they are. Examples of what we're using this today for is contactless payment. This is actually a Starbucks machine that's getting put in corporations. Take your RFID-enabled credit card, swipe it, fills up your coffee right there for you. You never even have to go to Starbucks, they come to you. So that's an example of the payment industry embedding RFID in their cards. RFID in healthcare, babies, if you go to the maternity ward, have RFID bracelets on their ankles. If they get too far away or in a different part of the hospital, alarm sound. It's matched to their mother. So security for that, being able to locate pumps and beds and tracking implantable medical devices, human tissue, all of those things are done through RFID in healthcare today. This is actually an automated milking machine. A cow walks up to this with a tag in its ear, the gates open, all robotic, it milks it and tracks what they're eating, how much milk they produce, environmental conditions, everything. Cool thing about this is they've taken that data, aggregated it, and there's now a 12 cows Twitter feed. So all of that information, when they get done, there's Charge Cindy right there talking about what she just produced. They feed that to Twitter. One example is social media. The other one is Epic Mix from Vail Resorts. The skiers all have RFID in their ski pass, so it tracks everywhere they go on the mountain, feeds it to this cool little site. So you get a stream of what everybody's doing skiing in Vail, so that's pretty cool. Security, the Bellagio was just robbed of $1.5 million in casino chips. Those are RFID-enabled casino chips. They were able to identify exactly which chips they were, wipe out the value to zero, so now the thief is sitting on useless chips. Ended up being caught through the use of RFID. One other way we're going to see this even more is RFID on mobile devices. The next generation of smartphones will have RFID in them. They will become readers. They will also become being able to be read. So you're making a payment for something, just use your smartphone. You want to actually read an RFID tag, you can do that as well. This is an example of an add-on, but the new ones will actually come embedded with that. Where does it go from here? The Internet of Things. There's 2 billion or so internet users today passing data. In the future, 30 years from now, every object will be passing data over the internet. Sensor data, temperature, your car, your refrigerator, you name it, everything will be passing data. That's a lot of data to store and a lot of data to process and figure out how it applies to you. So the vision of the future, it's going to be everywhere in 30 years. Here's an example of an RFID washing machine in progress with a reader. You put a shirt in there with a tag, it'll tell you what temperature it's going to wash it on and what color should be in there with it. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of applications of RFID, and it'll be part of our day-to-day lives for the rest of the time.